Hey all, welcome to Tierra Sur, to our Rosh Chodesh for October. It's going to be a really fun one today. We're going to be making a heirloom squash. The heirloom squash that we're going to be making is using this wonderful red curry squash. Curry, K-U-R-I. We're going to be roasting this whole and turning it into an agnolotti, which we're going to be pairing with a brown butter. We're going to be using some cashew and, as a replacement. Sage and walnut sauce can be super yummy. So we have a couple things that we need to get started in order to kind of get this process going, right? So first is going to be this red curry squash. Now, the way that I cook this is you just take this whole thing and throw it in the oven. So we're going to take this guy, throw it in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. Now, that depends, obviously, on the size of your squash that you're using. You don't have to use the red curry squash. You can use fairy tale pumpkins. You can use baking pumpkins. You can use acorn squash, butternut squash, whatever you'd like. But for this application, I really like roasting it whole. Keeps everything super moist, super juicy. And at the end process, when we pull out of the oven, let it cool down. It's going to be super easy to handle and kind of locks in, that skin kind of locks in all the flavor. Really, really nice. So we're going to let that go for 45 minutes. And while that's going, we're going to start our pasta. We have a cup of, this is 00 flour. Now, you don't have to have 00 flour. It is just going to make for a silkier, smoother pasta. We're going to make a well right in the center. To this, we are going to add 1 egg. We have some water here on standby. This is about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And nice healthy pinch of kosher salt. Then you can do this in your mixer. I'm just happening to be making a very small batch. So small, in fact, that my mixer won't kind of process it. So we're going to do it kind of the traditional way by hand. So using a fork, whisking your eggs, and then slowly incorporating the flour as you go. Trying to keep that well in the center. The water, you're just going to add it as needed. Your end product, texture-wise, after you're done mixing all this up and kneading it, and you'll see once we're done, but should almost resemble shoe leather. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. That's kind of the texture and the level of kind of dryness that you're looking for. If you're not doing this by hand and you're using your mixer, my advice to you is be patient when it comes to adding any additional liquid. Sometimes it just takes a minute for that flour to hydrate. You add a little bit too much water, and then you're kind of chasing that dragon, if you will, of too much water, too much flour, too much water, too much flour. So my advice to everyone is just to always be patient. If you think you need to add a little bit more water, give it another 30 seconds in the mixer, see if it comes together. So we're going to knead this until we have a completely smooth ball. We want a silky but strong pasta. Otherwise, you know, it might break in the water. The texture, when you feel it, should be like a nice shoe leather, right? Shouldn't be sticky at all. You know, we don't need any flour. I can still keep kneading this, no flour. We are going to just wrap this quickly in plastic wrap so we don't create any sort of skin for rolling out. We're going to let that rest for 20 to 30 minutes. So while we've been making that pasta, our squash has been cooking. Now, ahead of time, I have made some squash. So this is already completely cooled down. This is what I would recommend that everybody does. If you're planning on making this dish and you do have the extra time, roast these ahead of time. Roast these a day ahead of time, the night before. They'll make your house smell amazing. And you'll be able to chill these down in the fridge, and then it makes peeling just so much easier and much more pleasant on your hands, right? So when we're peeling these guys, right, everything's already roasted. You don't even need a knife. You can just crack it open. Now, if you can see, very juicy still. And then we can just scoop out all of these seeds. Our pumpkins are cleaned out. And now you can scoop with a spoon. You can use a paring knife. There's lots of different ways to go about this. What we're doing right now is making our filling. If you don't have time to do this step, you don't have to. You can, buy pumpkin puree, a really nice quality pumpkin puree at the store. Okay, so we have about, a cup of what would be pumpkin puree, right? So to that, we're going to grate some fresh nutmeg. Not too much. You don't really want to overpower. About 1/8 of a teaspoon. We're also going to add some cinnamon. Same, just about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then we're going to add a little allspice. I love allspice. It adds just a really nice, almost little kick. Again, 1/8 of a teaspoon. Little pinch. Season with salt. Get this guy spinning. Just until you have a nice smooth puree. Make sure that our seasoning is on point, and then we'll add our egg. The egg is you don't have to add the egg, but for me, for the filling, once it gets all cooked, it kind of helps everything stay together a little bit better, and creates just a little bit better texture, rather than the puree just kind of oozing out of the agnolotti itself. I'm going to add a pinch of pepper. After tasting it, I'm going to add just a pinch, about, again, 1/8 of a teaspoon. A little more of sugar, just to kind of, once you taste it, you'll understand. It'll kind of round everything out, and actually make some of those flavors come through and pop a little bit more. We're not trying to make this sweet. This is still very savory, but yeah, that's delicious. So now we're going to add in that egg. All right, next, I'm going to be taking this puree, putting it into a piping bag. Just makes it easier. If you'd like, you don't need a piping bag. You can use a spoon to spoon out your agnolotti or whatever filled pasta you decide to make, whatever shape you decide to make. This would be wonderful for something more like a ravioli as well. Take this airtight, tie it off, tape it off, however you'd like, and let this chill and kind of set up in a refrigerated area while your pasta is resting as well. All right, so while we're waiting for our pasta to rest and our mixture to rest and kind of everything, let's talk about wine, right? So with this pasta, I think the Chalk Hill Chardonnay is going to be fantastic with this. Yeah, I think that's going to be really nice. Still has a lot of acidity, but also that oak kind of shines through. All right, so now that we're hydrated, right? Our pasta's had enough time to kind of do its thing. It is very important when you are mixing the pasta, you do want to make sure that it's pretty dry. It has kind of that shoe leather-like texture. Otherwise, when you get to this point, it will be very, very wet, and it will be very hard to work with, and you'll have to do a lot more manipulation to it, right? What do we got? We have some semolina flour. This is going to be for rolling. We have a rolling pin, and then if you are lucky enough to have a pasta roller, use it. It makes life a lot easier. If you don't, that's okay. You can use a rolling pin. It might be a little bit more difficult, especially for something like a filled pasta where you want it as thin, almost as thin as you can get. Our pasta machine is about 5-6 inches. So we don't want to go wider than that. So we're going to take our dough ball and we're going to roll it into a log. All right, and then we're going to take some semolina flour, throw that down, and you're just going to roll this out just until it's thick enough or thin enough, I should say, to pass through the machine. Once you can get it to be able to pass through the machine, you are golden. One thing I will mention, pasta is one of those things that's really hard to give. And I mean, you can give a recipe for pasta and things like that, but so much of it is kind of by feel. That's why I've been trying to explain, with terms like shoe leather and things like that to get the texture that you want across. All right, so we're going to turn our pasta machine on. Get this running through. So my machine here, we're using a KitchenAid, right? We're going to go all the way from an 8. Our starts is at an 8 and goes down to a 1. We're going to end at a 2, right? But we're going to go from 8 to 6, 4, and then 3 and 2. And now from this point, we're going to want to work pretty fast because we don't want any sort of skin. We call it alligator skin. We don't want any kind of skin start forming on our really nice pasta here. So we're going to fold this over and we're going to set ourselves up for success. Put some nice fresh semolina flour on down so when we're done folding everything, nothing sticks. Next, small bowl, egg. We're going to make a little egg wash. This is going to keep skin from forming, as well as kind of work as a glue when we stick this whole thing together, right? So we're going to whisk this one egg up of water. You want to go very, very light on this. Next is our filling. Start at one end. Try your best to make an even line all the way down. Take 2 hands. This hand, I'm going to fold. This hand, I'm going to hold to keep it from touching the filling, right? And now I'm pushing down with this thumb, trying to make it so the pasta is directly in contact with the filling. And then I'm going to start over here and I'm going to take just my middle finger, index finger, whichever one you'd like, and just kind of press that filling up quincures. We're going to take one side and the other side and pinch. Move this hand here. Make these basically as big as you want. I like them to be bite-sized, personally. Last part, right? This is a fluted wheel cutter for pasta, right? So we're going to take this and cut the end. First cuts, then every single one of these we're going to cut through. Our sauce is going to be basically a brown butter sage with some walnuts. So it's a very thin sauce. So we want something that's going to catch sauce. And these shapes have these little pockets that can really catch the sauce. It's really, really nice. We're going to be very delicate at this point. We just want to, this is why we set ourselves up with that nice semolina. Hopefully nothing sticks. Bench scraper is your favorite tool here. And we're going to carefully move these, knowing that they're not going to be sticking to the table, right? Fantastic. We didn't lose any. Let's work on our sauce really fast. Very, very fast. Quick sauce, right? So pan, ready to go. we're gonna add some of our vegan butter. Now the vegan butter does not have any butter solids in it to brown. So how do we make brown butter, right? So we're gonna get this to melt, and then you can buy this at the store. You don't have to make this yourself. If you don't have to make this, you would need a high-speed blender and all that kind of stuff. This is just cashew butter. Add a nice tablespoon. Now these cashew solids are now going to toast. So while this is foamy, we are going to take some walnuts. And if you'd like to, you can chop these up. I like to keep them whole, but we're going to take some sage anise. Get our sage nice and crispy. The walnuts and the cashew butter nice and toasted. I think we're about there. So now, to kind of cut the cooking process, we're going to take just a splash of our wine that we're drinking. No, if you don't partake in wine, you do want to cut it with something. So something like lemon juice, maybe, you know, we're in the season, so apple cider vinegar, or maybe just apple cider might be nice in this. Okay, so our sauce is done. We're going to set this aside. Keep it warm. We're going to take a few of our agnolotti here. Drop them in our pasta basket. Let those cook for just a few minutes. But our pasta has now started to float, so I think we are about there. So for plating, I am going to take our sauce, place it at the bottom. Take our pasta into a bowl. A little extra virgin olive oil. And then go ahead and place these really nice and delicately on top of your nice sauce. And then last step is just going to be adding some nice, this is some Maldon salt, really nice, flaky finishing salt right on top. All right, so time to taste, right? Let's have some of the wine. The filling looks like it's set up really nicely. The pasta and the sauce, nice and rich, very nutty from the walnuts and the cashews that are coming through. The sage, super, super nice. And the wine kind of cuts through that richness. Super, super delicious. Hope you all make this at home for you and your family this fall. Enjoy.